So let's talk about making puzzles. How do I make them? How can you make them? Since I started my website, I've been getting letters asking about my process. So I'm going to answer a few of those questions now. A very common question I'll get is, do I use computers to make my puzzles? Yep. The puzzles on the site are definitely not manually constructed. There are 2.2 million puzzles on my site. The site's about 20 years old. That's pretty old. But even so, to get that many puzzles, I would have to be cranking out 300 puzzles a day with no downtime. And I don't have that kind of time. This is what is called a side hustle. So no, I don't make the puzzles by hand. Sometimes people will ask for puzzles that I can't make because I can't easily write software to make the puzzles, even though the puzzles seem quite simple. A good example is connect the dots. Connect the dots, super simple puzzle. Little kids do it. But the problem with connect the dots is that every single solution is a unique picture, work of art. And that would mean making 300 works of art a day. I also don't have time to curate 300 pictures a day if I were to get them from other sources to clear and, curate 300 pictures a day. So that would be a problem. I can imagine a future in which I might use AI to make connect the dot puzzles. That likely won't happen because I don't particularly like connect the dot puzzles. But I can imagine someone doing it. Do I use AI to make puzzles? Is my software AI? The site's 20 years old. Back in the 70s, the software that I write might have been classified as AI in that I use production rule systems in my solvers, which is a type of classic hard AI. But the stuff that we call AI today, no, that's not it. The word AI is a moving target. I'm reminded of a famous quote by Arthur C. Clarke. And AI is also a bit like magic. And our definition of AI will continue to evolve as things become more understandable to us. I do use large language models for programming, for things like autocomplete. And I use AI kind of like having an assistant junior programmer. So I'll ask for things and it'll produce code for me. But I'm very much in control of the process. And when it comes to the actual algorithms used to generate and solve puzzles, I'm not using large language models for that. And I don't foresee using them in the future, although who knows. Another question I get a lot is, what language do I use? These days, my puzzle making software is almost entirely written in Python. When I first started, the puzzle making software was typically in C++, and then I had various support scripts written in Perl that were used for things like printing the puzzles, producing PDFs, batch processing the programs that generated the puzzles, uploading puzzles to the website. These days, all that stuff is written in Python, although I still have some legacy C++ and Perl code for some of my older puzzles. No one's asked this, but it's a good question. What does my process look like? I use the command line to run my scripts. Here I am making 10 star battle puzzles. The script, typical of my puzzle generation scripts, has a bunch of parameters. You can specify how many puzzles you want, how big they are, how difficult they are, where to store them, and so on. The script generates one puzzle per line in a text format. That's how I store my puzzles in text files. I wrote a separate printing script that produces the PDF files that I publish on the website. I made similar scripts to make book interiors for the encapsulated PostScript puzzles I provide to newspapers and magazines. And the specially constructed PDFs I sell on Etsy for people with electronic ink tablets. Another script uploads the puzzles to an online SQL database that is used to provide interactive puzzles for the website. So if you want to see how I do it, let's vibe code a puzzle generator. That'll be in the next video.